At Opodo Farm yesterday, Kalonzo walked in with a head of 100 cattle. Alongside this, Kalonzo came with members of the Akamba Nation and other members from the mountain of Njuri Ncheke were also part of this delegation that Kalonzo walked with. But also to buttress his position as the Wiper Party leader, he also walked with or alongside other Wiper members who have also are currently serving in different political positions in Kenya under the Wiper Patriotic Front now, but formerly the Wiper Democratic Party ticket. Among them was the governor, the Mutula Kalonzo Jr., and another was also Honorable Wavinya Ndeti, who is the governor of Machakos County, and a former student, funny enough, of Dr. Ida Betty Odinga, who is the widow to the late Honorable Raila Odinga. So this particular delegation was warmly welcomed in Kangoka Jaramogi, where they first made a stop, and then they proceeded to Opodo Farm, where now they sat, made speeches, and did different stuff that we want to put before the people's mirror. Now, in front of the people's mirror now, we are putting before you and before the mirror the speeches, or the speech specifically, of Honorable Kalonzo Stephen Musyoka, and what it meant politically, and also what it meant to the people and the family of Raila Odinga. So let's start on the speech of Kalonzo Musyoka and what it meant to the family of Raila Odinga. You see, for the family of Raila Odinga, Kalonzo was coming in as a friend, and we have detailed an episode that you can find here, The People's Mirror, on how Ida responded to the friendship that existed between Man Stevo and the late Raila Odinga. So it was a very welcoming one, because as Ida had said, Kalonzo is a very genuine friend to the late Raila Odinga, and the genuinity of Kalonzo's relationship has been questioned in the political circles for different reasons. One reason being, in 2005, when they were forming the ODM Kenya Party, the Orange Democratic Party, something happened that an individual affiliated to Kalonzo Musyoka, current senator called Senator Maanzo, disappeared with the registration documents. That frustrated the process of forming ODM to the point that by the time they were forming ODM later, it was Gitobu Imanyara and other different lawyers who had given the party that they had previously registered as Orange Democratic Party to Raila Odinga. So that's actually the history of the party, and from the history of the ODM party, you see the betrayal that Kalonzo did to them. Kalonzo later jumped ship and formed government with Kibaki as the vice president of Kibaki, really. For Kibaki's second term as the vice president of Kibaki in the then PNU government. So at that point, people have always blamed Kalonzo for being a watermelon and shifting camps and leaving Raila in the backyard. But as I detailed yesterday when I was talking about the visit of Kalonzo to Opodo Farm, Kalonzo has had to overcompensate for that particular betrayal for over 15 years. And in 2013, Kalonzo put down his political ambitions to become the vice presidential candidate for Raila Odinga. In 2017, Kalonzo also put down his political ambitions and became the deputy presidential candidate for Raila Odinga. In 2022, when Kalonzo's political ambitions were not even second to the particular chase of Raila's presidency, Kalonzo still stayed with Raila Odinga, even if Martha Karua was the person that was selected to become the deputy president or deputy presidential candidate for Raila Odinga. So for over 15 years, for over 3 successive elections, Kalonzo would not do anything much more to redeem that particular mistake of 2007. Kalonzo has done all he could to redeem that. And so this particular genuine friendship is something that the families of Raila Odinga recognizes, Mama Ida herself recognizes, and they pointed out in Opodo Farm. Now, Kalonzo's speech. Kalonzo was talking about different things. First, Kalonzo reminded us of the Sufuria statement that was recklessly made by President Ruto a few days ago. Ruto said that the people who were demonstrating with Sufuria were now gone, and he made this statement after the burial of Raila Odinga. So it was downplayed, or rather discussed, and then it disappeared. But Kalonzo was bringing it back to the limelight when in his speech he said, wale watu wa Sufuria wenye walikuwa wanaongolewa ni wao. And he pointed back that Ruto, who is now loudly mourning Raila Odinga, was among the individuals that had targeted Raila's life in the 2023 demonstrations, where Kalonzo said over 10 bullets were targeted at Raila's car to take away Raila's life then. And had his car not been armored, he would have been killed and buried then, but God was gracious. The political effect of just these statements, before we go further, what Kalonzo said, is to deviate first the whole analogy that Ruto is the closest ally to Raila Odinga. He is trying to portray that image to the mourners whose hearts are still very painful in the Opoda farm and in Kangoka Jaramogi, that let us see beyond the theatrics of these particular politicians who are coming to bury and mourn Raila Odinga, and go back a little back into history. And if perhaps your memory cannot go back deeper into history, then at least remember 2023. And this positions Ruto's image very badly in the statement of Kalonzo, that you cannot loudly mourn an individual that you tried to kill in 2023, and I have evidence because we were in Tujo's house that over 10 bullets were actually aimed at Raila's car to take away Raila's life when we were in Embakasi, and we had to escape in a very gruesome manner. So this is a very funny statement. And then Kalonzo also goes ahead to say that one thing that Raila really stood for is to reject policies that were bad, and is portraying the image that he's standing at the grave of Raila Odinga's burial to remind him that they will still keep rejecting those policies that are bad. Another political bullet, and is using this to target the whole idea that whatever happens, the spirit of Raila Odinga previously had never been to work with people like Ruto until this broad-based government thing occurred. And so he feels like that is the spirit that needs to move forward. He makes these statements very simply, but with an intention to show that he is the best fit man. And he says he's the best fit, right and morally right man to take over the position of Raila Odinga in opposition, reminding this particular cohorts of supporters that they are still in Azimio together. So Kalonzo took every advantage politically to actually assassinate the government camp, and to show that the Raila's people are not stupid to what history details, and to show that he is there and he intends to be there until the end of time, to show that Raila spirit was that rejects bad policies. He did another thing. He coronated Raila's son, called him in front, and he told him that anataka kumtunuku. Now that the father is gone, he blessed him with certain Kamba traditional tools, being certain things that he gave him, being the arrow, the bow, and things like that. He gave him the shield, and he told him that he was giving him this so that he can defend not only the Odinga family, but also the Luo nation and the entire nation. Now that was another political bullet. He was hinting to the young man that we will stand with you if you decide to join politics, and we will walk you through these steps in the legacy of your father. Later on, Mutula Kilonzo made it very soundly, and we will detail on Mutula Kilonzo's speech, but that particular statement shows that they intend to actually start looking at the Raila Odinga's family direction on who will really replace the identity of Raila Odinga. And now that Junior has been given that coronation by the family, it seems like they are putting their eyes on Junior. Now this might not be the subject of putting Kalonzo's speech on the mirror, but I don't know how this works with Winnie, who might be a lady, but has consistently been depicted as the person that was closest to the father in the journey of political liberation, and that other people have even hinted is the fit replacement of the legacy of Raila Odinga. That perhaps we'll put in the mirror another day. But those are the statements of Kalonzo. Those was what Kalonzo said categorically when it comes to that, and intends to be in the ballot in 2027. So those statements are still lingering as part of the other statements that have been previously been made in the hearts of the mourners as they make their decision on who to rally behind come 2027. That is the statement of Kalonzo before the people's mirror.